really great connections. You were definitely like trying to develop the topic, and then there were some places where I felt like I still wanted more detail, or I wanted you to dive deeper. I wanted you to make more connections, and to be honest, it's a research paper. Research papers are challenging for even really competent writers, and so I'm seeing a lot of this where I think it's new territory for you guys. Your tone throughout is really appropriate. You clearly did a lot of proofreading and editing, and I know I get on you about like, okay, we gotta make it concise, you gotta pull it together, but I do see you responding and attempting to take those pieces and like make those edits happen. Your citations were strong. Just know that here in your works cited at the end, you want to remove the template, so there's no lines. You just wanted to say works cited centered, and then everything you did here information-wise is correct, but remember that we talked about the reverse indentation piece, where, so if you have a citation that's going on to maybe a second or even a third line, maybe this isn't going to let me. I'm going to pull this out of your template real quick so you can see what this looks like. So it should look like this. Okay, so let's say it's just formatted like that. That's what a reverse indentation should look like. Okay. So if you think about going into college and you're writing a research paper that's upwards of 15 pages or 10 pages, you might have like a dozen different sources you're citing, and this just makes it easy for whoever's reading your paper to say, oh, that one on ocean acidification, I want to know more about it. Okay. So if we were starting your grade conversation just with this essay being it, I would say this essay is around like a B-. Now, you also took a Fahrenheit 451 assessment, and you did quite well on that. And I think that's the difference between the research and the literary. You were like really comfortable with me handing you a quote and saying, hey, I want you to write a claim, and then I want you to analyze it, because those pieces you were consistently in like the 3 range. So for me, the conversation, this is in not where I see your grade. I feel like I would lean towards like a high B for this grading period for your English grade. So how do you feel about a B+ in English? Would you like to counter with your presented or your information that you'd like to present?
Well, I was kind of leaning towards like an A-, because I knew like my research paper does have inconsistencies, and I was having like a little bit of trouble like keeping that kind of tone of being professional, because I'm more of like a literary writer, like that's kind of like how I work.
You have a very conversational, easy tone, and it is hard to rein that in, especially when you're talking about data and numbers and the environmental problems. So, but I actually felt like you did a pretty good job. So I don't think you should be too hard on yourself on that particular element.
But like one of the pieces of evidence that definitely are like is my SAT vocab.
Okay.
And so if you've noticed from like the very beginning of when I started, I'm pretty sure it was a 13.5 I had. And I really was like not okay with that. So I was like, okay, I need to like push myself to like really remember these words, because I had a really hard time like really remembering like what the words meant. So I like just recently started like making myself use every single word in the narratives, so then I could understand them better, which reflected with my SAT vocab number 9 quiz getting a 50 out of 15. So like that kind of thing is like one of the like definitely one of the like my SAT vocab is like a big reason that I definitely do deserve an A-. I mean, I do work really, really hard in English just to like make sure I know the information and like make sure it's like as high level as I can get it.
Okay.
And also like,
and I do love that you're using all 15 words, because I think you're the only person that's doing that.
And like also with like in my English section of my digital notebook, so definitely with like my sketch notes and like,
can you click into some of those?
Yeah, so like with my sketch notes, if you notice, I'm really trying here to like go really in depth and find all these connections, and I'm also really trying that with the annotations, and like I've done that with like the concept maps. Like I'm trying to find like the really in-depth like connections that I can make, and definitely like trying to revise the more I go down to like make it more visually appealing, of course, but making sure that just like always like finding new connections. Like normally I'm kind of like, oh, this connects to this, but then I like started to go, wait, but then this connects all the way to this topic, and this like goes to that, and like I'm trying to go like finding more things.
These are beautiful. Are you finding that this strategy is more or less helpful than annotations, or you like them together?
Well, it's kind of hard because sometimes it's like depending on the chapter we've done for Sixth Extinction, I find it really easy to do the sketch notes because at first I had a lot of trouble with the sketch notes, but like it really depends on the chapter if like I can find those connections. But more the fact annotations, it takes me a lot longer because I more like just see the fact. I'm like, okay, that's the important fact I need, but like I have a hard time like finding like the very specific facts I need. I kind of just think like, oh, this is important, this is important, this is important.
Everything's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm kind of noticing the sketch notes are like a lot more. Like, more, they're coming to me more.
Okay. Third piece of evidence.
I have to say that was my third piece.
Okay.
But definitely through my digital notebook, if you look in like this recent one, I'm doing like a lot of reflections on like stuff we're doing in English, and I'm starting to like I'm taking a lot of like my old digital notebooks, like notes and stuff from my English section, and I'm putting like a lot more like analysis of it and like what correlates with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're reflecting. Now that I actually have a link to this, I can kind of follow it. So if we say your grade is an A- right now, then like what is your goal for the next 6 weeks in terms of your grade?
Honestly, it's more the fact just to keep improving on the stuff that I'm having like the most challenging stuff with. Like with my research paper, I definitely had a very hard time with the conclusion and that kind of thing, so I'm like really like trying to push myself to go more higher level with things and not just keep it like the bare minimum. Like I'm trying to go like above and beyond, and I want to do that even more next grading period, so then I can show like, hey, like I was here during this, and now I'm here, and this is like the improvement I'm showing.
Okay, so the work you're doing is incredibly thorough. I see the efforts that you're making on your end to reflect, to go above and beyond vocabulary. I feel like an A- is appropriate. What I would like to see when we sit down with our last is that you have taken kind of these notes, since that's something you want to continue to work on, revise, continue to kind of pick that apart and see what you can do, and I can go back in and give you that next round for the bottom half that you asked for, and then we'll sit back down and we'll include that in that conversation as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can I take this